Owen Sackett heard the two horses come up his south trail at dusk on a Wednesday in June, and set the mending down and went to the door, because two horses on his south trail at dusk was not, in Owen Sackett's ordinary experience, either one horse or three. He opened the door. The two horses in his yard were plain, honest paint ponies. On one sat a young northern Cheyenne woman in a plain, travel-worn deerskin dress and a plain wool shawl at her shoulder, her black hair braided down her back, her hands set steady on the reins. On the other sat a small boy of maybe 7, with the plain, grave face of a small person who had ridden a long way in the last 3 days. The young woman said, in careful English, "Sir, my name is Bluefeather. My son is called Small Antelope. We have ridden 3 days south from the Northern Cheyenne Agency at Fort Robinson. I have ridden because my late husband's father is trying to force me to marry my late husband's brother against my will. Cheyenne custom does not require it. My late husband's father is a hard man. My mother's people are the Southern Cheyenne at Fort Reno, 200 miles further south. I am going to them. I have ridden by way of your ranch because the trader at Pine Ridge told me that Owen Sackett of the Sackett homestead at Rimrock was a man who would not turn a woman and a child away. I have ridden 5 miles today past the sun. I would ask shelter one night. In the morning, we ride further south." Owen Sackett took his hat off. He said, "Ma'am, please dismount. Both horses to the barn. Rufe, my hand, will feed them and water them. You and the boy to the plank table. My Aunt Vera lives with me and will chaperone. Your night's shelter is welcome. Your morning ride I would like to speak with you about at the plank table before you take it." Bluefeather looked at Owen Sackett a long moment. She dismounted. Aunt Vera, 62, met Bluefeather and Small Antelope at the kitchen with a plain, honest bowl of stew. She sat them at the plank table. She did not ask questions. She fed them. Owen sat opposite them. When Small Antelope had eaten and had been shown by Aunt Vera to the west room and had been tucked under a plain, honest quilt for the night, Owen said, "At the plank table, ma'am." Bluefeather said, "Owen." Owen said, "Bluefeather, I would like to speak plainly. Fort Reno is 200 miles further south. 200 miles on your 2 paint ponies with your son of 7 is a very hard ride at midsummer. There are Comanche parties in the country between the Republican and the Cimarron. There is a drought. There is a bad water problem at the Cimarron Ford. I do not want to alarm you. I want you to know what you would be riding into." Bluefeather said, "Owen, I have thought about it. My other option was to marry my late husband's brother." Owen said, "I understand. I would like to offer you a plain, honest third option." Bluefeather said, "Please?" Owen said, "I have a plain, honest telegraph line to Denver at the Rimrock station. I would like, in the morning, to send a plain, honest telegram to Chief Little Robe of the Southern Cheyenne at Fort Reno, informing him plainly that Bluefeather and Small Antelope of the Northern Band have come to Rimrock and are in safe shelter, and that Chief Little Robe is welcome to send an escort of 2 to 5 riders north to Rimrock to bring them home properly. Chief Little Robe will not permit a young Cheyenne widow and a small nephew to ride 200 miles alone through Comanche country. He will send an escort. The escort will take a fortnight to ride up. In the fortnight, you and your son will stay at Rimrock in Aunt Vera's care, and in my care as a plain, honest neighbor. That is my proposal." Bluefeather looked at Owen Sackett across the plank table. She said, "Owen." He said, "Yes." She said, "Chief Little Robe is my mother's brother." Owen said, "I know." Bluefeather said, "How?" Owen said, "The trader at Pine Ridge told me. He told me when he sent word ahead that you might be coming." Bluefeather said, "The trader at Pine Ridge told you?" Owen said, "He did. He sent word to Aunt Vera by the mail rider on Sunday. Aunt Vera has been baking bread for a Cheyenne widow and a small nephew since Sunday. I have been mending the west room quilt. We were expecting you." Bluefeather said, "Owen Sackett." Owen said, "Bluefeather." She said, "Send the telegram at first light." Owen said, "I will." He sent the telegram at first light. He rode to Rimrock Station himself. He returned at 11 with a plain, honest telegram back from Chief Little Robe that said, in careful English, nephew of mine. Escort of 5 leaving Reno at dawn Thursday. 2 weeks to your station. Keep Blue Feather and Small Antelope safe. Little Robe. Owen showed Blue Feather the telegram. Blue Feather read it. She said, "Owen, thank you." Owen said, "Please do not thank me. Please stay a fortnight." Blue Feather said, "I will." Blue Feather and Small Antelope stayed a fortnight at the Sackett homestead. Aunt Vera taught Small Antelope at his own request to make a plain, honest, small pan of biscuits. Owen, at Small Antelope's other request, taught him to whittle a plain, honest, small horse from a stick of willow. Small Antelope carried the whittled horse in his belt for the whole of the second week and named it Rimrock. Owen and Blue Feather spoke at the plank table in the evenings. She told him about her late husband, Standing Rock, a plain, honest northern Cheyenne warrior who had died of a fever the previous fall. She told him about her son and about her mother, who was gone to a heart sickness 2 winters back, and about her uncle, Chief Little Robe, whose escort would arrive Wednesday of the fortnight's second week. Owen told her about his own late wife, Rachel, who had died at 24 in childbirth in 81, and about the small son they had lost with her, and about the 4 years since. He told her about his mother's people in Missouri, and about Aunt Vera, who had come out to keep his house in 82, and had not, in 4 years, once mentioned going back to Missouri. Aunt Vera, on the porch bench at the far side of the porch, said mildly, on the 7th evening, "Nephew, I am not going back to Missouri. Please stop mentioning it." Owen said, "Yes, Aunt Vera." The Cheyenne escort arrived on the second Wednesday. Chief Little Robe had ridden north himself with 4 young men because, as he said, his sister's daughter and her son were a matter that required the head of the household. He met Blue Feather in the yard with the plain, honest, small dignity of a plain, honest uncle. He held Small Antelope a long moment. He turned to Owen. He said, in careful English, "Sackett, you are a plain, honest man." Owen said, "Chief." Little Robe said, "You will eat with us tonight. Then I will speak plainly." They ate at the plank table. Aunt Vera cooked a plain, honest supper for 8. The escort, the chief, Blue Feather, Small Antelope, and the 2 households. After supper, on the porch step in the mild evening, Little Robe said, "Sackett." Owen said, "Chief." Little Robe said, "My niece has told me at the plank table that she has come to know you as a plain, honest man of a plain, honest homestead. She has told me that in the fortnight she has been at your porch step, she has come to hope that the escort would come slowly. I understand my niece. She has not said and will not say more than that. She has left the further plainness to you." Owen Sackett said, "Chief." Little Robe said, "Yes." Owen said, "I would like to ask your niece to consider staying at Rimrock, not as a shelter, as a wife, if she would consider. I do not press. I have known her a fortnight. I have known her long enough to know I would like the household." Little Robe said, "Owen Sackett." Owen said, "Yes." Little Robe said, "You may ask my niece." Owen went into the kitchen. Blue Feather was drying a plate at the sink board. He said, plainly, "Blue Feather." She said, "Owen," he said, "your uncle has given me permission to ask you a plain thing at your uncle's porch step." Blue Feather said, "I know." Owen said, "I would like you to consider staying at Rimrock as my wife." Blue Feather said, "Yes." Owen said, "You do not need to answer tonight." Blue Feather said, "I have answered. Please stop trying to give me longer." Owen laughed once. He said, "Yes." Blue Feather put the plate down. She dried her hands. She walked out to the porch step with him. Little Robe said, "Niece?" Blue Feather said, "Uncle." Little Robe said, "Well." Blue Feather said, "I am staying, Uncle, at Rimrock. Small Antelope stays with me. You may go home to Fort Reno and tell Reno that Blue Feather has stayed at Rimrock as a plain, honest wife of a plain, honest man." Little Robe said, "Good." He blessed the marriage at the porch step in the plain, honest ceremony of his people. The circuit preacher blessed it a second time at the small Rimrock church on the last Sunday of July, with Aunt Vera weeping quietly into her handkerchief and pretending she had gotten pepper in her eye. Chief Little Robe rode back to Fort Reno with his escort on the first day of August. He carried, in his saddlebag, a plain, honest jar of Aunt Vera's peach preserves for his sister-in-law at Reno. 2 years on a warm September evening at the Sackett homestead, Blue Feather Sackett sat on the porch step with Owen beside her and a small daughter, called Little Robe out of plain, honest respect to a plain, honest uncle, 10 months old, asleep against her chest. Small Antelope, now 9, was in the pasture teaching a plain brown pony called Rimrock the plain honest habit of picking up her feet when a boy asked her to. Aunt Vera, 64, was in the porch rocker with her mending, still not on any stage back to Missouri. Owen said, "Blue Feather." Blue Feather said, "Owen." He said, "Your uncle wired today." Blue Feather said, "What?" He said, "He is coming north for Small Antelope's 10th birthday in April. He is bringing your late husband's father, who has since November of last year written him 3 plain, honest letters of apology about the forced marriage he tried to press on you at Fort Robinson, and has asked, plainly, whether he might be permitted to see his grandson at Rimrock for the birthday." Blue Feather looked at Owen a long moment. She said, "Owen." He said, "Yes." She said, "Write my uncle back. Tell him the answer is yes. Tell him my late husband's father is welcome at the porch step. Tell him plainly that my son and I are safe, and that we do not require an apology, but that we will accept one. Tell him my son wants to hear his grandfather's stories about my late husband as a small boy at Standing Rock, and has been asking about them since he was 3. Owen said, "I will." Blue Feather kissed her husband's temple. The pasture went to gold. Small Antelope taught Rimrock the pony. Aunt Vera mended. And Blue Feather Sackett, who had ridden 3 days south from a northern Cheyenne agency at Fort Robinson because a plain, honest trader at Pine Ridge had told her Owen Sackett of Rimrock was a man who would not turn a woman and a child away, put her cheek against her husband's shoulder, and understood that the good, slow country had, in its good, slow way, arranged a Pine Ridge trader's plain, honest word to a Cheyenne widow at 4 in the afternoon of a Thursday, and had, on the strength of 1 plain, honest telegram at first light and 1 plain, honest telegram back at 11, given her back not just the shelter of a plain, honest homestead, but the whole rest of a household under a plain, honest Rimrock roof, no ride to Fort Reno would, or could, or should, have taken from her. And so it had been.